What?
Isolate.
Why are you laughing at me?
Because you're so cute.
I'm Ashtyn.
I'm Danielle.
And today we are going to talk about everybody's favorite Lashify, cluster lashes, glue and seal lashes, those clusters that
Should be eradicated.
should be honestly probably illegal. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the real difference between lash extensions and lash clusters. Okay, lash extensions are somebody who is a licensed esthetician who will isolate each individual one of your eyelashes and use a, what's the word, professional based adhesive, professional grade adhesive and glue,
which is semi-permanent too.
Yes, and we adhere a synthetic lash to each isolated individual lash. Okay, this is not damaging if done properly. Cluster lashes are when you take that big old cluster that's like half of your eye and you glue it on top of all of your eyelashes, and when you take them off, all of your lashes come off with it.
Not all of them. Let's just be realistic. But and there's also, I think, levels of clusters. Mind you, I've never used a cluster lash in my life on myself. Okay. Some of the clusters are thinner at the base, but a lot of what we see nowadays, especially the DIY stuff, is they span not half your eye, but a quarter of your eye, right?
Yeah,
they're pretty wide.
You play around with it and kind of map your own eye.
And they usually have let's say 10 lashes or more on the cluster itself. To get into the point of why they're so damaging is they're so wide that you're literally adhering, one lash across the span of 20 of your natural lashes all together, and that does not allow natural hair growth and can cause so many issues.
It's also super heavy, so it's damaging and weighs down your lashes. My biggest concern that I have with lash clusters is that when people are taking them off, they sometimes you can get a remover for it, and it kind of dilutes the adhesive and almost makes it easier to come off. But some people don't use that, and they literally just rip it right off. And that adhesive that you do use, there's a difference between strip lash glue and cluster glue. When you get a strip lash glue, it's that super low quality that's supposed to last for 4 to 8 hours, right? When you use a traditional strip lash, and that really isn't that damaging to come off of your lashes because it is so lightweight and thin. But these lash clusters, the glue is meant to last anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. That is how long people like to keep these on their eyes. So when you're just completely ripping it off of your eye, it is such a strong glue that it is ripping out natural lashes.
Yes. And I mean, you bring a good point. I'm so far removed from some of these systems and the DIY stuff. In my head, I'm thinking everyone's ripping them off. You mentioned there's maybe a solvent, which would be a great idea, obviously, because yes, taking even just traditional strip lashes that have been around for decades, they are damaging because they are not only adhering your lashes together, but they're making your follicles super dirty.
When you have lash extensions, traditional lash extensions, what we do, lash artists do, you are cleaning your lashes to avoid lash mites and stuff like that. But when you're using these clusters, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I feel a lot of people don't wash them, and it's hard to really wash them because with the extensions you can get in between each lash with your brush and really get in there. But with clusters, since it's a thick long piece, you can't really get in between your lashes, so there is going to get a big buildup of dirt, lash mites, grime, oils, which also not good for lash growth.
Yeah, you're basically encapsulating multiple lashes across a very delicate area. And let's just be real, lash mites are normal. It's actually normal to have mites all over your skin, whatever. We have bacteria. We know we need probiotics in our stomach, but we don't want an overgrowth of these mites, and that is caused by a lack of cleaning. And this can happen to extensions clients too, who just don't clean their lashes. But when you have extensions, you can, and they're applied properly, you can thoroughly clean the follicle, you're saying.
Yeah.
But whether you're using, I think what we're talking about right now is even if you're using that more pliable adhesive that you buy over the counter at CVS to put strip lashes on, even if you're using that, but you're wearing these clusters for extended periods of time, this is when you're running into issues. Strip lashes are meant to be super temporary, like an event, not overnight, not for weeks at a time. There's so many people that swear by this, and don't get me wrong, lashes is the only thing that I want on my face. Like if I had one choice, so I get it. Like, and getting extensions can be quite an investment, but I just think we need to be smart about how we're using these other options. Like I said, I think you shouldn't wear them overnight and things like that. But yeah, so.
Well, speaking of which, I don't know how like popular this is, or I've just kind of like seen this when I've been scrolling, but there are actually cluster lash techs. So apparently there's lash techs. I don't know if they're like esthetician trained or like lash trained or how it works, but from the videos I've seen, they're using a professional grade adhesive like Black Magic and like our adhesives, and they're gluing cluster lashes onto lashes.
Well, I didn't know people were actually like advertising this, but I've seen it come in. Actually, it's been years, but I've seen clients come in from another location and literally have strips. It looked like to me someone took a strip lash and like cut it into thirds and literally adhered it onto somebody's lash line, overlapping with professional grade adhesive, and taking those off of somebody. Like it was,
Yeah, like how do you do that?
well, I used
Remover.
professional grade remover, but even though they came off easily, what was left over was like completely like bald spots on someone's lash line, and the lashes that did remain were so bent and so broken, and it was like scary to see.
Okay, so can you explain like what it is that's so damaging about that?
Well, each hair is growing at its own different rate, and some hairs are at their mature life cycle and they're going to be there for like weeks, and some lashes are brand new and they're growing and growing and growing. And so you have all these lashes that are like, some are growing, some are not. And when you have them all adhered together, the ones that are growing are constantly putting tension on the ones that are not growing. But also, again, going back to like the pores can't breathe, the follicles could be getting twisted and twisted. And actually, that's what causes permanent hair loss, is constant torsion of the follicle. It's some kind of alopecia from the twisting of the repeated twisting of a follicle. That's what causes permanent hair loss. And so if someone's doing that over and over again, that's literally like your lashes won't even grow back.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I don't know how common this is, but I've also had like somebody come in for a foreign fill, and she was like, yeah, like I need a fill, but she came in with cluster lashes on. And so like I do think that like it's something that people don't know. Like people don't understand what the difference between clusters and extensions are. People don't understand what like the difference is between a cluster lash check and an actual lash check. Like I would hate for somebody to go into a salon and want like lash extensions like we do, but they're actually getting like cluster lashes. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that it's like a very, because what I can also see happening is like looking at price differences, right? Like we were looking at a cluster lash check here in San Diego so that we could get like their prices. They're charging $65 for a full set versus us with $225 to $300. Obviously, most people are going to be like, oh, let me go to the $65 place. But really, they're not getting what they're actually wanting because they're not educated enough to know what it is they're wanting.
Right. It's quick for people to say, gosh, what's this huge price difference for? Which I do think a lot of people understand you get what you pay for, which is why charging more can show people like you have experience, like you know what you're doing. But that person that I'm just like coming to my memory that came into me years ago with these clusters layered on top of each other, I remember talking to her about like, you know, did you know that this wasn't done correctly? Yeah. And she was like startled that it was done wrong because it was referred to by her friend, and she felt like she was supporting this person who did her lashes, and so she felt bad. So it does come down to like a lack of awareness and education of, you know, what is the difference? Why would you basically not want to have that done? You're better off doing your own lashes, cluster lashes at home with like a more temporary adhesive than going and paying for somebody to apply these clusters with professional adhesive.
So we kind of wanted to do a little bit of research and get other people's opinions that have maybe had cluster lashes or gone to like, because I've only used cluster lashes once, and it was literally for 3 hours for an event, and then I took them off. Obviously, I've used strip lashes. I think everybody knows strip lashes are just annoying. They never stay on your eyes. They're always poking up and down. They are just like for a quick, like, oh my gosh, I need lashes on my eyes. Cluster lashes, I've never had them on long enough to know, like, how they wear, you know what I'm saying? So we wanted to do a little bit of research. This person is saying, as someone who does not do lashes but gets them done and is very interested in the lash community, I would never pay more than $40 to $50 for somebody to put clusters onto my lashes. I imagine it would look pretty bad when you lose one cluster and it creates a big bald spot, which I didn't even think about.
Oh, yeah. It would create a big bald spot.
It would create a big bald spot, like if you have one lash on your eye.
Well, you know, and this is kind of like, I don't know if this is contradictory, but I just had a thought. So, like, people go get their makeup done, and they have strip lashes applied. And you can probably opt for clusters, but that's not what we're talking about. Like, people are actually serving the community as a lash artist, but adhering these clusters with lash artist adhesive.
Yes.
That's wild.
So this isn't like just like, oh, here, let me put this on you really quick.
Like
This
a
is
makeup.
No, this is like an actual service people are offering.
To, like, wear long term.
To wear and come get it filled every 2 to 3 weeks, which I'm also a little bit confused about. How do you get it filled? Do they completely remove them and put them back on?
Because that's not even a fill. That's like a redo. Why would you even call it a fill?
But when I'm looking at these people's menus, like their pricing menus, there's an option for a fill and a full set. And do these clusters grow out? Because are they attached to the lash or are they attached to the lid?
I mean,
because I remember, like, when you put them on, you lift your eye up and you put them underneath and you adhere it to your lash. But do they grow out, or are your lashes just so heavy that your lashes aren't even naturally growing anymore?
I'm so confused. I need to see more. I don't know if we can find any pictures, but we're reading Reddit right now.
Yes. This girl says, I've had clusters done before the individual lashes became popular. I didn't know any better back then, and they ruined my lashes. My natural lashes were stuck together, and the Vaseline they suggested for removal didn't work. Now I only get individual lashes done. So this just goes to prove that natural lash, or these lash clusters, are leaving literal gaps in people's eyes.
Yeah.
And this girl luckily had Jesus on her side, and her lashes grew back, but sometimes that won't happen.
On the topic of lash extensions themselves, I've had people say, like, can't those ruin your lashes, right? Like, things can happen, lashes get pulled out. But I always say, not really. Lashes always grow back, because if you think about how many times people get a Brazilian wax, you get that shit ripped out, and that shit always grows back, right? Well, that's why it's repeated torsion of the follicle that can cause permanent loss. Now, whether or not the loss is permanent, when you are getting something like a cluster lash that's pulling lashes out, what is happening, because I've seen this, is it's repeated pulling out. Maybe it's not permanent damage, but what happens is lashes are getting pulled out before their life cycle is over.
Yes.
So then the fills can't be effective, because there could be a hair that was removed like a month before it would have shed on its own. So it's actually just going to be gone for that month. And then so, like, these lash artists are just like layering on these strips, these small strips on lashes that are existing. And then, a month goes by, another hair gets pulled out prematurely, another. So now you have like half these lashes that are just not grown back yet, which could basically cause temporary baldness. And it's just not good. That's just not good for your eyelashes anyway. So could it cause permanent damage? Yes, with repeated twisting. But I just wanted to note that, like, I have seen people recover as well who came in from another location where a lash artist wasn't properly isolating, and there were a lot of gaps and bald spots, but those lashes did eventually come back.
And so we're sitting here talking about how these cluster lashes are very damaging to your natural lashes, right? But I do feel like they're, on the flip side, there's still a lot of people who think that they're less damaging than lash extensions. In this comment that I'm seeing, it says, lash techs create fans using multiple individual lashes. They don't use clusters because they attach one fan to a single lash, whereas clusters are attached to multiple lashes. Somebody commented back and said, thank you for responding. I tried lash extensions once and they brutalized my natural lashes. Never did it again. Has technology, etc., improved to impact to natural lashes? Will you describe leave my natural lashes all broken? I think they're talking about, like, the individuals.
The individual
lashes.
I think, I still think that it's like almost two separate conversations here. We have people who are intentionally putting clusters on, and then we have we have lash techs that are not properly isolating. So they're accidentally creating clusters.
Yes, there's a very big difference.
Which kind of results in the same negative impact on the industry. Because if you don't isolate every single lash, no matter what lash extensions you're using, clusters or not, if every single natural lash is not isolated, then it is not going to be healthy for the customer. It is not going to allow for healthy lash growth. It is not going to allow for healthy cleaning of the lashes. So any other way than individual one natural lash to an extension or fan is the only way to have healthy lash extensions. Period.
Yes. And honestly, you guys, as for clusters go, just because you can leave them on for weeks doesn't mean you should. I think that a lot of people, nobody is doing lashes incorrectly on purpose. If somebody is offering lash cluster services, maybe they just aren't fully aware of how damaging it actually is to lashes.
I agree. I feel like that's always been my philosophy. No one would do lashes wrong on purpose. I just think they're miseducated and maybe quick to jump on. I think something you mentioned maybe earlier, I don't know if we were recording, but you should have a license in most places to do lash extensions. So I think maybe there's some people who don't want to take the time to get the proper licensure in their training. They're doing these clusters because maybe they fall under makeup. But if you're using permanent adhesive, then I do think you're crossing over that area and you're definitely putting people's lashes at risk.
I totally agree. So if there's any takeaway you guys take from this, it is what?
Isolate.
Why are you laughing at me?
Because you're so cute.
If there's anything
She's all
you take
cutting
away
you off
from
now.
this,
Shut up.
isolate your lashes, and as a client, do your research.
Yes.
If you are seeing somebody doing lash clusters and like doing it professionally, I would honestly, do it at your own discretion, but like know the risks, and the risks are that your natural lashes will most likely not last.
They just won't. You have a high risk of damage.
You do.
Yeah.
And if you're getting extensions done, again, do your research on your artist. We want clean, perfect isolation. And if you're using cluster lashes, please do not keep them on for more than like 4 days.
I think you shouldn't keep them on more than 24 hours.
And remove them properly. Do not just rip them out.
The thing is, if you don't want to invest in lash extensions done properly, it requires time and money. Consider a lash lift. Use a lash serum. Like there's other ways that you can like have great lashes done right without compromising your health.
Well, even like using like a strip lash.
Yeah, that you take off at the end of the day.
You take off at the end of the day.
And then wash your eyes.
Scrub your eyes. And like also I see a lot of people like the adhesive that you use when you're using cluster lashes is so hard to come off of your lashes that like people like just live with like you'll look at their eyes and there'll be like globs of glue everywhere because it's so hard to come off. Yeah. And if they pull that glue off, the lashes are coming off with it, like the natural lashes. So
yeah, don't do it.
It's kind of like a lose situation here.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's all we have for you guys today. I hope you guys learned something new today.
Let us know if you disagree. We love or agree. Actually, I'm sure most of you agree. Mm-hmm. If you agree, leave us a comment. If you disagree, tell us why.
We'll see you next time. Bye.